Today, Ukraine increased its attacks inside Russia. I'm Rick Wiles. This is True News for Wednesday, August 14, 2024. Let's begin our analysis and commentary of today's news by looking at this headline published today by Newsweek. Ukraine strikes 8 regions inside Russia in one of war's largest attacks. Now, this is amazing what's taking place since last Thursday or Friday.
Yes, this is the latest advance by the Ukrainian army into, let's just be clear about this, into Russian territory itself. And Ukraine would not be able to make these advances without the assistance and coordination of NATO.
Of the West. That's absolutely right. And Mr. Zelensky, the usurper president, whose term expired last spring, has remained on the presidential seat of Ukraine. I guess he refused to allow a peaceful transition of power.
Yet we're defending democracy in Ukraine.
That's right.
Isn't that the cause of the day?
He refused to leave the presidential office of Ukraine.
Well, if Donald Trump had done that,
then we'd have to have a civil war.
Right.
Now, in Ukraine, you just have a war. It doesn't have to be it's a war.
That's right.
But today, Mr. Zelensky, this is the London Times, he said Ukraine is going deeper into Russia. Doc, just weeks ago, in the past 30 days, remember when we started to see the hints about attacking Moscow?
Right.
Well, the U.S. wouldn't, at the present time, authorize attacks on Moscow.
Which is telling you at some point in the future.
It's going to happen. Folks, we are on our way to seeing a Western attack on the capital city of Russia.
Yes.
That's where we're headed. The Ukrainian troops are moving towards Moscow.
Oh, bullshit.
And at some point in the very near future, Ukrainian missiles and drones are going to attack the Kremlin. Possibly, Doc, within weeks.
Yes.
So this is what Zelensky said
possible.
today.
So Ukraine's
You
army
don't
is
know what you're
continuing to
talking
advance
about.
into Russia. President Zelensky said Wednesday as fighting rage across
Oh, that was right. He admitted
the region
yesterday.
in Russia.
Yesterday, Rick Wells, this guy here, actually made a mistake, and he corrected what he had to say the other day, and I didn't record that part, but he actually admitted he made a mistake on one part of the news section. What a total tool this guy is.
Russian troops captured. We're advancing.
He should not be a news reporter.
Region from 1 to 2 kilometers in range of areas since the beginning of the day, he said. That's President Zelensky saying that. He ordered his military to take the next key steps, but did not give key details.
Doc, I want to keep that photo on the screen. This is the Times of London. Those are reportedly Russian soldiers captured by Ukrainian soldiers. They have some form of blindfolds on them. They're in the back of a military truck. But take note of the ages of these Russian soldiers.
Yeah, I saw that earlier today.
These guys are 18, 20 years old.
Right.
These are mid-40s to mid-50s. So what does that say about Russia's depletion of men to fight this war?
That they've come to a point where they're running out of people to send, too. If you believe the propaganda. So
I think it's real, though. I do. I think this is real. And I think something very ominous took place last week when the Ukrainian army crossed over into the border. And this is not going to have I don't think it's going to have a pretty ending. I don't know how Putin can do anything other than obliterate Ukraine, which I want to talk about that in a little bit later in the program. But I want to see what's happening before I get to that analysis. The Telegram. Kiev bombards Russian airbase 400 miles from the Russian border.
Right.
Doc, this is amazing what's taking place today. And again, they could not do this without the assistance of NATO nations. The weapons, the planning, and coordination. So there's only one way the Russians can view these actions, and that is a NATO-inspired invasion and attack of their homeland.
Right.
That's what's happening right now. Let's read first what the Telegraph is reporting.
So Ukraine has launched a long-range attack against 3 Russian air bases, including one 400 miles from the border, in Kiev's largest drone strike since the beginning of the war. Wednesday morning, the Russian defense minister claimed it had downed 117 drones launched at military targets across the country. Moscow did not comment on the strikes, but local social media channels reported the sound of explosions near the 3 airfields. The base is home to MiG-31 fighter jets, going to be used in hypersonic missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. Footage of the attack appeared to show drones in the sky over the Kulebasky district near the military base. At least one drone can be seen hurtling towards the ground in a nosedive before disappearing behind a tree line.
Why do you think why?
Saying orange after a pursued explosion. So this is, once again, this is on the Russian soil, 400 miles away from the Ukrainian border.
Today, yes. This happened today. We've got 2 videos showing what Ukraine says is the attack. In this first video, you'll see a drone coming in, and it appears on the screen here very soon. Just keep your eye on the center screen, and you'll see it. And there it goes.
There's the attack.
So, and the next one, this is a Ukrainian drone, a swarm of drones at a Russian military base.
And you're seeing the destruction there. This was a massive attack by, as Rick said, a swarm of drones here in the Borisov military air base in Voronezh, Russia. So this is just the latest, and you see the oil tanks there and everything as well. So this was a significant attack on an air base and also oil storage facilities as well.
So, Doc, Wall Street Journal reporting that Putin has withdrawn some Russian troops from Ukraine to take them back to Russia to fight the Ukrainians outside their country.
Right. So Russia's withdrawing some of its military forces from Ukraine to respond to that offensive that's underway right now. Officials said the U.S. is still seeking to determine the significance of Russia's move and didn't say how many troops the U.S. assesses Russia is shifting to that new offensive, but the new U.S. assessment bolsters claims by Ukrainian officials who said last week's surprise invasion of Kursk had drawn Russian forces away from Ukraine, where Moscow's advantage in manpower and equipment is allowing them to grind forward in several places. Ukraine, meanwhile, sent tanks and other armored vehicles to reinforce troops that have stunned the Kremlin by seizing a chunk of Russian territory.
And Telegraph in London reporting Russia hastily building trenches in the Kursk region. So, Doc, if you're digging trenches inside your own country,
that's World War I style warfare there.
But you're supposed to be digging trenches in the other countries,
right?
Not in your own country. That means you're under attack, and you are desperately trying to hold back the invasion of a foreign army that has come into your country. Let's read this. This is the Telegraph today in London.
It says Russia's been building long stretches of trenches in Kursk, dozens of miles away from the border amid Ukraine's ongoing incursion. It says in the Telegraph article, open source intelligence sites have identified the hastily dug defensive lines through satellite imagery, particularly around the town of Lvov, over 30 miles from Ukraine, as well as other key areas close to highways. OSIN technical and open source analysts said the trenches, if fallen back to, would cede Ukraine
really sad.
a massive amount of territory. As we mentioned, Ukraine has stunned the Kremlin by storming over the border and quickly seizing a chunk of territory in this latest attack.
I have friends
the
there,
trench construction helps to bolster Ukraine's claims that its forces continue to advance in the 8th day of the invasion, despite Russia's military stating that they had stalled. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because Ukraine not only has to maintain this. But also, I have to keep their supply lines open in order to keep these forces up to the task of holding onto that territory. And whether they have those supply lines in place and everything, because if they're dozens of miles inside Russia, you've got to have supply lines be able to reinforce those troops over a sustained period of time. If not, Russian forces from both sides and from inside Ukraine could cut off that entire offensive. So it's a risk that Ukraine has made, and I bet they're counting.
They won't be able to hold on to the land.
Right, that's the question. Can they hold on to it?
Like I've said a couple times,
This is terrible, man. This is really sad, terrible. A lot of innocent people involved in this crap.
It's hard to believe that this started a week ago.
Right.
Things are moving so fast, it's hard to keep up with all of the developments. Last week we were focused on Iran and the possibility that there would be an attack, by weekend or Monday or Tuesday, and not really paying attention to the fighting that was taking place in Russia.
Right.
It's a freaking scare tactic.
I was mistakenly thinking,
Jesus
the fighting
God,
is
let
in
these people
the
know.
Russian-held
These news
territory
anchors.
of Ukraine,
Which Russia still holds, right?
Yes, but that wasn't true. I had not processed the information. No, Ukraine crossed into Russia. I'm going to say here in a moment what I think could happen. New York Post.
Could happen.
President
This
Biden
guy
says
don't know
Ukraine's
jack
surprise
shit.
invasion of Russia is creating a real dilemma.
Somebody
for
get
Putin.
rid of this guy. Call
the US is in
WWCR and get
constant
rid of this
contact
Rick
with
Wells
Kiev.
guy. He
I bet you
sucks.
are.
Terrible reporter.
The U.S. is in constant contact with Kiev.
That means we're assisting and coordinating with Kiev.
You could read it two different ways. One way would be Ukraine did not tell the United States about the invasion.
Which was a story that we had yesterday that we'll get a chance to talk about, which is a possibility because it's a wild hair situation.
Right. And that Biden was, Mr. Biden was caught by surprise, and that his administration has been in constant contact with Zelensky's government to figure out what's going on, what are your next moves. That's a possibility. The other possibility is you're in constant contact because you're managing the operation.
Right.
Which seems more likely. I find it hard to believe that Zelensky pulled together the resources and the strategy and said, we're going to invade Russia. And we're not going to tell the United States and NATO about it. We're just going to do it ourselves. I don't see that happening. But, in time, we'll figure this out. We got a video. This is President Biden making comments to reporters that he's in constant contact.
By the way,
with Kiev.
Biden needs a job.
If I told you what pressure I put in on it, wouldn't be very much pressure, would it? Anyway, so...
President, what do you have to say about what's happening in Russia and Ukraine? Have you spoken with anyone in the Ukrainian government?
I've spoken with my staff on a regular basis, probably every 4 or 5 hours for the last 6 or 8 days. And it's creating a real dilemma for us. And we've been in direct contact, constant contact with the Ukrainians. That's all I'm going to say about it while it's active. Well, then, you can always count on South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
Oh, by the way, there's a joke going around. Yeah, Biden needs a job, a real job. Ha ha.
Whoa.
Ha ha.
Let's listen to see what Mr. Graham said.
What I think about Kurtz, bold, brilliant, beautiful. Keep it up. Bottom line is to the administration, I appreciate your support. Let these people fight. Give them weapons they need to win a war they can't afford to lose. When it comes to F-16, way too long. They're here. Let's use them. Let's train Ukrainian pilots.
And in that same presser that he did, he actively said, if you're a retired F-16 pilot, We're ready to hire you.
We got work for you.
Yes.
So they're going to have mercenaries go to Ukraine and fly the F-16s.
I thought it was Biden. He was looking for
Russia to Moscow. That's where they're headed, Doc. We are inching our way towards an attack on the Kremlin and the killing of Putin. That's where we're headed. That's their goal.
Jesus.
A decapitation strike on the Russian leadership. We're headed in that direction. And this is quite surprising. The next story, this is Newsweek. Putin seeking to find out how and why he was deceived. Again, we don't know if this is accurate. This is what Newsweek is reporting.
No, it's not accurate.
But
It's
all I'm saying
bullshit.
it's accurate, Doc, that he is stunned by what has happened.
Yeah, I'm stunned.
And that he was kept in the dark.
I'm stunned.
Right. And that means in Russia, there are high-level officials who are going to disappear.
Right. Now, this comes on the heels of an appointment of a new person to oversee the defense of Kursk. Former Kremlin agent Alexei Billman. He's going to be set in to oversee defense in the Kursk region.
He used to be Putin's bodyguard.
That's right. Yes. He's seeking to root out officers responsible for failing to stop Ukraine's incursion. A think tank has said. It's come from the Institute for the Study of War. The ISW said that several military bloggers had speculated that Dielman would determine the fate of several high-ranking Russian officials and commanders. Now, it made that assessment after Nikolai Ivanov, a Russian State Duma deputy from the Kursk region, said his sources had confirmed that Putin's former bodyguard, Dielman, was instructed to oversee the conduct of the counter-terrorist operation in Kursk. Now, notice they're calling it a counter-terrorist operation.
It's an invasion.
Right.
We've got a video clip here. This is from RT. This is Vladimir Putin saying there will be no negotiations with people who attack Russian civilians.
Of the Ukrainians, they're trying to improve their negotiating positions in the future. But what negotiations can we even talk about with people who are attacking civilian infrastructure, or trying to create threats for nuclear industry facilities? What is there to even talk about with them?
Now, Rick, you've mentioned in the past, and this is a unique perspective on this whole situation, that where we're at right now is we're negotiating toward the end of the war. Mm-hmm. And who gets what territory, basically. How has this recent incursion changed the algebra on all that?
Well, they mentioned it, and Putin said. The Ukrainians are hoping to strengthen their hands at the negotiating table.
Right.
So the Ukrainians just seized about 600 square miles of Russian territory. When they sit down at the table, they can look at the Russians and say, hey, you want your land back?
Then give us our land back.
Right. There's another possible explanation. Zelensky is Trump-proofing the negotiations.
All right. Now, explain that for our audience may not know what you mean by that.
This idea of Trump-proofing, that world leaders are
You're a
assuming
freaking
Donald Trump is going
moron.
to be
This
elected in
news anchor is
November,
a moron.
and that Mr. Trump will immediately begin to stop the war, and that Mr. Trump's a
Just
deal
say
maker.
Trump
He's a
wants to
negotiator.
stop the
He
war,
likes
period.
deals.
Done.
And he likes strong men. He likes to sit down at a table with a strong man and then bargain.
And there's no
He
love.
finds that's a sport to him.
Right, and there's no love lost between him and Zelensky either.
Right.
So,
But although recently Mr. Trump spoke very positive of Zelensky, which I found that interesting. That he said, well, he defended me during my impeachment hearings, because that one impeachment was about a phone call that Trump made to Zelensky. But this thing of Trump proofing the war, NATO has been rushing to get equipment. They're signing these 10-year agreements between nations almost like trains to defend and supply weapons and money to Ukraine. So
We're doing that right now.
Another
Sending money
aspect
to
of
Ukraine.
Trump
Where the
pushing
hell have you been?
the war in the sense that
This freaking guy's a clown act.
Donald Trump it would be more difficult for him now to cut a favorable deal with Putin.
Right.
Because Zelensky controls Russian land. The thing is with this, Doc, is this is a horrendous humiliation to
Spit it out,
Vladimir
asshole.
Putin and the Russian military. I mean, think about it. Go back to 9/11. I don't believe the official narrative. I don't believe any of that stuff.
Right.
But let's just say, hey, the official narrative was true. What the heck was our military doing that day?
Right. That's
Oh,
that's
here
the
we go.
question.
Here
Same
we go.
thing with
The Pentagon got hit.
Right. Same thing about October 7th in Israel. I mean, how was Israel even attacked at all? So, those are questions to ask.
Yes. By the way, Netanyahu apologized the other day. He said, apologize? Well, what do you mean apologize? Okay, I apologize. But I'm not resigning. Okay? But what I'm saying is, how did the Pentagon explain that the Pentagon itself got hit? What do you do with billions of dollars every year? You're supposed to defend the country. So take this to Russia. The Russian military has been saying for the past year, NATO is going to invade us. This is a war with NATO. They plan to invade Russia. Well, you know what Ukraine just proved? You can invade Russia with a much smaller army than NATO. If I were Putin, I would be scared, you know what? That NATO is looking at us saying, we can take them. They couldn't stop Zelensky. How would Putin stop a full NATO invasion from all sides? He can't do it. They're incapable of defending their homeland right now, Doc. I'm telling you, this is an embarrassment, a humiliation to Putin that is beyond my imagination. I never thought I'd see something like this happen. That's why Lindsey Graham was so happy. Yeah, he thinks it's beautiful, it's wonderful. But where's it going?
Could it lead to an extreme response by
Yes. Yes. How many red lines has NATO crossed in the past year?
Till their feet are red. I mean, that's how many red lines they've crossed.
Well, I mean, look at the red lines, right? I mean, Russia has made various statements. These are red lines. If NATO tanks come into Ukraine, that's a red line. Well, NATO tanks are in Ukraine. Well, if F-16s are introduced into Ukraine, well, they're there. I mean, there's a whole long list of red lines that the Kremlin, that Putin has said, we will not permit this. And yet, they permitted it. Doc, Western media and Western politicians paint Vladimir Putin as this cold-hearted, cruel, killer.
Diabolical.
Yes, he likes to kill people.
Right.
I think what we're seeing is just the opposite. That he doesn't like it. And he dreads the thought of issuing an order that results in the deaths of maybe millions of people. Because that's where this is going. They've said many times, we will only use our nukes if the existence of Russia is at stake. Well, right now, the existence of Russia is at stake. You have Ukrainian troops deep inside Russia. You have drones attacking Russian Air Force bases today. Last week,
I don't understand why they're
Ukrainian
attacking the
commander
Russians.
who
Why?
said, oh yeah, we're still going to take out the Kerch Strait Bridge. That's still on the drawing board. That's going to happen before the end of this year.
I didn't hear nothing all this all day, not until now. All of a sudden, this guy knows everything. Total moron.
that Putin can't allow to go on. I think, Doc, he has cold feet. I think Putin has cold feet. I think he's reluctant to order the attack. Right? So you think about Harry Truman. Harry Truman had to issue the order to drop atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Did he have cold feet? Did he hesitate? No, he didn't. What were the effects on his conscience years later? We don't know.
Right.
Okay. But Harry Truman said, I had to do it, or millions of American soldiers were going to die.
Millions of Japanese, too.
Yes, in a battle where they were
Why are
going
we
to
talking
invade Japan.
about this other war? We're talking about
And so
now.
Harry Truman said, I'm going to have to drop atomic bombs on 2 cities to stop the war, so millions of American and
Oh my
Allied
God,
troops
this
aren't
guy!
killed
I can't
invading
stand this news
Japan.
anchor. I hate this
Putin is
guy.
at the place right now where he's got to make a decision. And I think the first one is going to be to use tactical nuclear warheads on Ukraine, most likely Kiev. I think the man dreads it.
Because that's going to be his legacy.
Yes. People can discuss, is he a real Christian?
Nothing's gonna
whatever.
happen.
Okay.
It's
Only
just all a
God
scare
knows.
tactic. It ain't got nothing's gonna
But I think
happen.
his conscience is bothering him. He doesn't want to kill hundreds of thousands of children. I think the man is deeply convicted and doesn't know what to do. And this has caught him by surprise. His own military was sleeping. He's got to be saying, why are we having these war drills? We have war drills to prevent this from happening. What were you guys doing when the Ukrainian army came across the border? I mean, I would be furious if I were him. I'd be an absolute furious idiot madman if I were him. I'd be shouting at generals. What color are you? What are you doing here? Go down to Burger King and get a job. You're supposed to be defending the country. They failed.
Why don't you get a job somewhere else? So get off the news. You don't know how to tell the news worth of shit.
And now he's got to be thinking, if they can't stop
Spinning around and around and around and around. Don't know where to go with the news.
they
And
can't stop
jumping this,
Germany,
jumping that.
the United States, France.
Here we go. Here we go. Now we're gonna toss the story around.
Ukraine, they can't stop 29 NATO nations.
I hadn't thought about it in that perspective, but you're exactly right. So that means that he's going to be forced into a corner here pretty quick.
Really quick, or Doc, the deep state of Russia is going to be moving. I'm telling you, this is serious. The deep state of Russia may remove Putin
All the Yanks.
because he's refusing to act. If he's hesitating,
Yeah, because Putin
if
wants
he has
peace.
cold
You don't want
feet,
no part of this bullshit.
people are inside the meetings shouting at him, nuke them, and he won't do it. There could be a coup inside the Kremlin to remove Putin. Medvedev could be moved up to the presidency. Medvedev will do it. Mild-mannered, easy-talking Medvedev now is bloodthirsty for revenge. He can be moved up very quickly. That's what I'm watching for. Is the removal. Putin came to power because there was a coup against Yeltsin.
Yes.
In 1999.
Yes. Remember that. Remember that night very well.
New Year's Eve. Y2K.
Who gives a shit? Let's go on with the news.
Hey, he's drunk. We can't go into Y2K with a drunk president. Hey, you can have a drunk president on a good day, but not Y2K. Yeah?
Oh,
So
God.
Putin himself may disappear. They could do a Joe Biden on him. Here, Vlad, sign this letter. We already wrote it for you. We'll give you a graceful way out. Putin is not in control of the country. None of these presidents are in control of the country. They work for other people.
Right. And there are major oligarchs in Russia that help determine policy and production and everything else that's going on there. And
Russia has its own deep state.
That's right.
And Putin is only in power because the Russian deep state said he's our best choice. But if they reach the point where they say he doesn't have the backbone to do it, he's got cold feet, he's hesitating. And now we have Ukrainian troops inside our country, and who knows what's going to happen next week? Is the Kremlin going to burn down?
No.
Right.
I would be wondering that if I were in the Russian government.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Are we about to see the Kremlin burn down?
No.
If you would have asked the Russian deep state guys 2 weeks ago, could Ukraine ever take control of 600 square miles of Russian territory? They go, never, ever.
No.
2 weeks ago, they wouldn't have believed it. Well, then you have to wonder, 2 weeks from now, could the Kremlin be in ashes? So I think one of two things is going to happen. Either Putin is going to authorize the use of tactical nukes against Ukraine, which possibly could include obliterating the city of Kiev, which I have a feeling what he would do is issue an evacuation order. Until the people of Ukraine, you have 48 hours to leave the city. I think you're either going to see...
How do you know this?
Authorize the use
How do you
of nuclear
know
weapons,
this?
And again, small tactical nuclear weapons.
Right, not wide scale, but still destructive.
And against... He may have to do it inside his own country.
Oh fuck! Is this guy?
He may have to
what
use
does he think he
tactical
is?
nukes on the
Jesus Christ,
Ukrainian
this
troops
guy?
in Kursk.
Right.
Rick Wells here. He
Which
knows
means they're killing the
everything.
Russian people. Because those who are trapped inside the territory are going to die. I wouldn't want to be in this man's position. So either that's going to happen, or Mr. Putin is going to be escorted out of the Kremlin.
No, nothing's going to happen. Nothing is
Tougher
going
guys
to
gonna be brought in
happen.
who won't be afraid to use the nukes, including the ICBMs.
And that is a real danger there. I mean, someone even meaner and tougher could show up.
So the Lindsey Grahams, these people are fools.
Yeah,
Lindsey
you're
Graham
false.
is a
You're a
fool.
phony.
I've said it before. He should be in a straitjacket. He should be kept in a room.
Your
with
program
rubber
should be
walls.
pulled off the air.
He's a dangerous person to have political power.
Right.
Because he's pushing the world towards nuclear war.
Oh,
To
Jesus
stand
Christ.
and cheer and clap for something like this shows you have no comprehension of the danger that we're in. Because he thinks the U.S. automatically is going to win.
Yes. And we can just steamroll into Russia like we did Syria, like we did Libya, like we did Iraq.
Another color revolution.
Right.
I don't think the Russian deep state is going to allow it to happen, and I think if they have to, they will remove Putin and make sure
How does he know this?
We've been seeing the Russian news presenters in the past couple of weeks. They've been saying, got to use the nukes. Why aren't we using the nukes?
Because we don't need to, you
Let's watch
stupid
and
ass.
see what is
Causes
over the next
causes
week.
a war, you dumbass.
That's so they have their
Causes
own
the whole
Lindsey
world to
Grahams
go
over
up
there.
in it, you
Yes.
dumbass. That's why we're not using the
Will we
freaking
actually
things.
hear somebody say Putin's got to go?
No, you gotta go.
Would anybody dare say that on Russian television?
Oh, I'm gonna say it on my
Or
channel.
will they take it as far
Rick
as
Wells,
saying,
you gotta go. You're an idiot.
we've reached we have reached a place where the nukes must be used now? Because that's pretty much what they've been saying over the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just Putin keeps backing
Scare
down.
tactics,
I
or
want to change. We have 18 minutes remaining. I want to switch over to World War III. Well, excuse me, 2 more World War III articles out of Russia. London Times arrest warrant for Ukrainian over Nord Stream pipeline bombings.
Hold on a second.
I thought Putin blew it up.
Yeah.
Didn't he act crazy and blow up his own pipeline? That's what the CIA wanted us to believe.
Yes.
Well, Germany has arrested a Ukrainian involved in blowing up the pipeline.
Or at least issued the warrant for his arrest.
Yes.
German investigating the Nord Stream gas pipeline bombings obtained a warrant for the arrest of a Ukrainian citizen, according to reports. And if confirmed, the development would be the first significant breakthrough in one of Europe's most geopolitically important unsolved crimes. This morning, a group of German media outlets, including the public broadcaster ARD, claimed that the country's federal prosecutor, who's leading the investigation, had persuaded judges to issue an arrest warrant for another Ukrainian national, identified only as, I like this, Vladimir Z.
That sounds like Zelensky, isn't it?
Who is said to have been living in Warsaw. The federal prosecutor's office has yet to confirm these reports. Now, it's unclear what role Vladimir Z is alleged to have played in the sabotage. He reportedly told ARD, now he spoke to the outlet, that he had been surprised to learn of the warrant and had nothing to do with the Nord Stream bombings. Now, the article goes on to say that reports claim that the warrant had been handed over to the Polish authorities at the start of June, meaning that its 60-day duration had already expired. They suggested the German prosecutors had received no response from the Polish state. Now, the Polish government has not yet said anything about the claims. ARD and the other outlets also alleged that German investigators have traced two other unidentified Ukrainian, I didn't misspeak, Ukrainian suspects, a man and a woman, who they believe acted as the divers in the operation. Ukrainian. Which, when you get right down to it, the Ukrainians were the only ones with the real motive to blow up the pipeline. Russia had no motive to do it. They'd spent billions developing the pipeline. They were looking forward to getting those profits from Germany. Germany didn't want it to happen.
They helped build it.
Right. And mind you, no one talks about this aspect of it. The blowing up that pipeline is one of the biggest natural disasters to have occurred on the planet.
Mm-hmm. But no environmentalist group has said a word about it.
That's right.
Victoria Nuland probably knows who did it. This next article is to the Telegraph in London. Germany seals off army base over suspected sabotage of water supplies. Now it's getting serious.
Right.
This is a German base, and somebody tampered with the water supply to the military base.
So German military police have sealed off an army barracks near Cologne amid suspicions that the drinking water supplies had been sabotaged. In the report from Telegraph, soldiers have been ordered not to drink the tap water in the barracks, which houses about 4,000 soldiers, and it's also close to a regional airport. The Bundeswehr's counterintelligence services and military police are investigating the possibility that sabotage was involved. That's coming from German magazine Der Spiegel, adding that the barracks may have been broken into, a German army base broken into. According to the German tabloid Bild, some of the soldiers serve as crew for government aircraft in the region. An internal memo seen by Der Spiegel has asked soldiers to question any unknown person still on the site and to report any suspicious behavior. Well, should have been doing that before. But it's interesting. The story jumped out at me earlier today that the war is underway.
That is an act of World War III.
Right.
Sabotage of water supply at a German military base. I also saw another story, and I didn't bring it because I wasn't certain that we could say that it was sabotage. But I saw a story in a London paper that a water canal in Great Britain had a cyanide.
What?
Cyanide had been dumped into the water canal.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So, I couldn't see anything where it was connected to a military base or anything like that. But, you don't often see stories about cyanide, a large amount of cyanide dumped into the waterway.
Right. I mean, to have a large amount of cyanide, itself is wow.
It's a good reason. Hey, this is my opportunity. All right.
Oh, nice segue there.
I didn't plan it, folks, but I was just thinking about it. It's a good reason to have British Brookfield water filter.
Here.
That's why I have one.
So here we go. Now he's going to say, I'm buying my filters now. Buying my filters.
Are going to have an emergency supply of water. And look, I use it every day.
You freaking piece of shit. I'm talking about war, and you're talking about selling your products. You stupid son of a bitch.
It's also, for me, peace of mind knowing that if there is a crisis where the water supply has been paused or turned off, that you could go somewhere and use water from a pond, a lake, a swimming pool, whatever, right? And filter it and have drinking water. It's not I recommend that you do that on a regular basis, but I'm talking about life and death for an emergency situation. I just use mine every day because I like clean water.
Good for you.
I just like to know it's clean. And when I get my water out of British Brookfield, it's clean. I know it. But I've got clean water to start with my well. I got extremely good clean water.
Yeah. You said you live in Florida. We have sulfur in our water down here, you stupid idiot.
Because my drinking water in my house, I run it through British Brookfield. So go to American Reserve.
We don't have wells here in Florida. We have sulfur down there.
Because
we have Silver Springs.
Cyanide and...
That's about all.
What was the other one?
Sabotaged water.
They didn't say how it was done. All right.
Sulphur Hill Springs. That's the only spring that we have, and then we bottle our water from there.
Let's turn to World War III in the Middle East. This time, it's a cyber attack. Jerusalem Post, massive cyber attack, rocks central bank of Iran, computer systems. See, warfare is going on all around us.
Right, and this is the invisible warfare. There's not guns and tanks involved, but poisons and chemicals.
It's a different type of world war.
Right.
We haven't reached the nuclear bomb stage yet, but these are battles that are being fought out.
Now, Jerusalem Post is reporting that the Central Bank of Iran and other banks were
this guy's doing is scaring the American people that are listening to shortwave.
Disruption in the country's
this guy is a total
According to reports, all the computer systems of the banks in Iran were paralyzed following the cyber attack. Initial estimates indicated that this could be one of the largest ever cyber attacks against Iranian state infrastructure. The last cyber attack carried out against Iranian institutions took place last December, when a significant part of the gas stations in the country were damaged as part of the cyber attack. Israeli media later reported that a paper had been stuck onto ATM machines in Iran, which read, "Dear customers, it is impossible to withdraw money from this ATM. This is because all of Iran's national budget and resources have been allocated to the wars and the corrupt religious leaders of the Islamic Republic regime. We are very sorry." There was also this tweet on X. I don't know what you call it on X anymore, whether it's an X or a tweet. But this is from Iran International English, saying that a major cyber attack had targeted the Central Bank of Iran and has led to widespread disruptions. Initial estimates indicate this could be one of the largest cyber attacks. And so Iran itself is reporting this, making it clear that